Shalom, family. Finally made it. Hope you're all doing well. Well, my Sabbath is over on my neck of the woods, but I know some of you may still be in Sabbath. So, ladies and gentlemen, they are arresting the truckers because Donald Trump gave them a deadline of June 1st to either, learn English or they would be let go. So if they're now getting caught on the road, and as soon as they realize they can't speak good English, they are getting arrested now because at this point they're breaking the law. And I think this is going to really expand. I don't think this is going to be limited to trucking because there have been many people complaining about you can't get jobs unless you can speak Spanish. And, I don't think Donald Trump cares for that at all. And I believe eventually that is going to go into other industries where Spanish is no longer or cannot be a requirement for somebody to get a job in America. And there's a lot of things changing, and I had to explain to my son a little earlier. We were talking, because they're cutting SNAP benefits. Do you know the majority of Puerto Rico is on SNAP benefits? That's a US territory. So they get SNAP too. The majority, overwhelmingly, the majority on that island is getting SNAP. So their SNAP is getting cut. And the Spanish requirement is going to apply to them because it's US territory. So they're trying to see if they can get an exception because, Puerto Rico, they speak Spanish. But y'all just wait and see. This is going to filter over. And I think eventually they're going to phase out that press 1 for English and press 2 for Spanish. I really think that's going to go away. I don't think I don't think Donald Trump particularly cares for that kind of stuff. Uh-huh. Yeah, they're on SNAP in Puerto Rico. Uh-huh. Yes. The same benefits that are given here are given in Puerto Rico. Yes. Mhm. Because they have been using many jobs. I was listening to, and this woman actually won. It was a sister down there in Florida. She was trying to get a housekeeping job, and they told her she could not get the job because she had to speak Spanish. And she was like, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. I'm just cleaning a damn house. Why do I need to speak Spanish to clean a house? And she ended up suing and she won. They said they could not make that a requirement because of the type of job it was. Now, if she was applying to be an interpreter and Spanish was required, that's one thing. You don't need Spanish to be a housekeeper. You don't need that. And I think she was trying to be a housekeeper at a hotel. And they were trying to tell her she needed to speak Spanish in order to get that job. But she took them to court and she won. Mhm. John L. said, I'm a truck driver and was stopped at the scale house in Arkansas and asked if English was my first language and if I'm a citizen and were born, where was I born? Yeah. Yeah. You're going to see, I have footage of a man, and it's a brother that got stopped, and he was asking the officer, if he had to read something in Spanish, but he didn't bother him because he didn't detect no accent on him. So he didn't really give this brother a hard time, but he pretty much let him know, yeah, you're going to have to speak Spanish. I mean, I'm sorry, English if you're going to drive because you got to be able to read the road signs and everything. So you do need to speak English. And John L., thank you so much for your super chat and your support for my channel. So Yes, I mean, so things are gonna dramatically change. I think trucking is just the beginning, but this is certainly gonna come up in other industries as well. Mhm. Yeah, well, that's the problem with the truckers. They said a lot of them 'em can't speak English at all, and they're driving up and down these highways. They can't even read the signs. They don't know the language, and many of these guys have been here for a few decades, and they still can't speak English. I think that's a bit outrageous. You wanna be in a land where people overwhelmingly speak English and you don't wanna learn the language. That seems kinda ridiculous to me. Alright, y'all, let me share my screen and we'll get started. Many people we have 180. You know what? I need to give it more time. We only got 180 people in here. I'm gonna give it a little more time for people to come in. I'll just play a little music. When we get hopefully we'll have more people in here, maybe 200 by then. Let's see here. Not that. Yes, this. Okay. Let's give people a little more time. All right, y'all. You know, every now and then, even I have a favorite out of my collection, and this one that I'm about to play for you is one of my favorites. This one is called Psalms 23. Go ahead, yeah. Oh. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You lead beside still waters, calm in my heart. You restore my soul, you make me whole. And in your hands I'll never fall apart. You make me lie down in green pastures, yeah. Peace surrounds me even in disaster. You walk with me through every shadow. No fear, you're here, I know. Psalm 23, in my melody, your love is chasing after me. Goodness and mercy follow me. All my days you'll never leave. Psalm 23, you comfort me, prepare a place, you set me free. My cup overflows eternally. I dwell with you in perfect peace. Though I walk through the valley of death's dark shade, I won't be afraid, 'cause you light my way. Your rod and staff, they comfort me. You fight for me, you set me free. You anoint my head with oil so sweet. Your presence brings me to my knees. You lead me in paths of righteousness. Your name is holy, I am blessed. Psalm 23, you're my melody. Your love is chasing after me. Goodness and mercy follow me.
All my days you'll never leave. Psalm 23, you comfort me. Prepare a place, you set me free. My cup overflows eternally. I dwell with you in perfect peace. Forever I'm yours and you are mine. No greater love, no higher light. From this day to eternity, I'll trust in you completely. Psalm 23, you're my melody. Your love is chasing after me. Goodness and mercy follow me. All my days you'll never shepherd, you'll never. Psalm 23, you comfort me. Prepare a place, you set me free. My cup overflows eternally. I dwell with you in perfect peace.
All right. All right, y'all. So let's get started. I want to go over so you can hear about what Donald Trump has done. So, right now, if you are a trucker and you don't speak English, you're going to be in trouble as far as being able to keep and maintain your job. You absolutely won't be able to do it. Okay. And I'll have that song available after the live stream. I'll upload it on my YouTube channel. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you.
ਅੱਜ ਟਰੱਕਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਦੋ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਈਆਂ ਨੇ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਖਬਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਡੀਓਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟੇਸ਼ਨ ਸੈਕਟਰੀ ਸ਼ੌਨ ਡਫੀ ਨੇ ਟਵੀਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 1500 ਯਾਨੀ ਕਿ 1500 ਡਰਾਈਵਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਆਊਟ ਆਫ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਕਰਤਾ, ਜਸਟ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਉਹ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਲੀਅਰਲੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਫ ਯੂ ਡੋਂਟ ਨੋ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵੀ ਕਾਂਟ ਲੈਟ ਯੂ ਡਰਾਈਵ ਯੂਰ ਟਰੱਕਸ। ਤੇ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਖਬਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਤੋਂ। ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਹਾਈਵੇ ਪੈਟਰੋਲ ਨੇ ਅਨਾਉਂਸ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਜੋ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੀਸ਼ੀਐਂਸੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਟਰੰਪ ਦਾ, ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਗੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ। ਸੋ ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਡਰਾਈਵਰਸ ਲਈ ਥੋੜੀ ਰਾਹਤ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ, ਬਟ ਓਵਰਆਲ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੈਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਈਡ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਡੀਓਟੀ ਇਸ ਰੂਲ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਖਤ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਲਾਓ ਵੀ 1500 ਡਰਾਈਵਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਊਟ ਆਫ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਕਰਤਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ ਕੈਂਸਲ ਕਰਤੇ। ਸੋ ਇਟ ਇਜ਼ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਟੂ ਸੇਵ ਯੂਰ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ। ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਥੋੜੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੌਨਫੀਡੈਂਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ, ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਚਿੰਗ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ਸਾਡਾ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ 5594736599। ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਰਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਫੋਰ ਟਰੱਕਰਸ। ਇੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹੀ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਸਿਖਾਈ ਜਾਊਗੀ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਟਰੱਕਿੰਗ ਲਈ ਡੀਓਟੀ ਇੰਸਪੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲਈ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ।
Hey, we saw on YouTube that the state of Arkansas, you guys are having truckers read now. Is that really true? Is that really a thing?
You just gotta, yeah, I gotta be able to speak and read English. Yeah.
Good thing. Okay, got it.
Yeah. We gotta show road signs. Make sure you can read the road signs.
Got it.
To every truck driver across the country in the United States of America, it's official. Starting June 2025, every truck driver that has a CDL in the United States of America must be able to speak the English language, write the English language, and read the English language, starting in June. Now, a lot of people will ask the question, how does a semi-truck driver not know how to speak or read the English language? How do they drive? Well, here's the thing, right? In our country, there's so many schools that will cater to every language out there. It makes it easier for you to get your CDL, right? Now, What happens is in June, once you get pulled over and you're not able to communicate with the law officials, they will put you out of service. And the next step is you will have to contact the company you work for, and they would have to send somebody out to pick up the truck that also obviously has to speak and read and understand the English language. Now, you still have time to learn, right? It's going to be a little bit difficult because obviously a lot of people thought it's just something in the news, but it's the law now. You must be able to read and write and understand the English language. 20% of accidents that happen in our country with semi-truck drivers is the signs. They cannot read and comprehend the signs. And you ask yourself, what do you mean? How do they go back and forth? Well, there's something called the GPS. It tells them to turn left, they're going to turn left. If it tells them to turn right, they're going to turn right. What about when they get to shippers? How do they do? Well, it's really difficult, right? They'll show them the bill of sale, BOL, delivery, and they back and forth until they get it, right? Some distribution centers get irritated by some drivers that do not comprehend, communicate with each other, right? So this will change the whole outlook of the trucking industry. Some say it's good, some say it's bad, but there's a lot of different kind of demographic of people in our country, in the United States of America, that drive semi trucks. So yeah, so you still got time to comprehend and understand it. God bless every truck driver.
So this morning, hundreds of videos I've seen of truck drivers who can barely speak a lick of English saying they're going to have to give it up. We're also seeing reports that a lot of foreigners are putting their trucks and trucking businesses up for sale. A lot of people would say they ruined the trucking industry. Rates are so much lower because there's a lot of foreigners who don't keep their trucks up to par or all their licensing and permits up to par to cut costs, and have been skating by, still making a profit, while legitimate trucking companies haven't been able to survive. So if you do the research, there's like 700,000, 650,000 foreign truck drivers in this country. A percentage of those that don't speak a word of English because they're being pulled over and they're being ticketed, and their companies that they work for are being notified that, hey, you can't have drivers out here that can't speak decent English. We should see a reduction in truckers, and hopefully that will help bring safety to the roads and bring the business of trucking back for those who are legit. Because yeah, it's been rough the last few years, and with this whole tariff war and lack of freight, it's going to be an ugly couple of months for the trucking business until things get squared away before it comes back. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know.
No speaky means no drivey. So they are finally starting to place people out of service for about the last month that have lack of English language proficiency. And honestly, it's been needed for a long time, but they're finally cracking down on it because they are finally having enough. Now, DOT finally found it a problem, but other drivers, shippers, and receivers have been dealing with this for a lot longer. All started during COVID, got all this grant money, free money to start a trucking company in the United States if you were from a different country. So with free stuff means low overhead, and then they can run for basically nothing. I mean, under $2 a mile, which is ridiculous. $2 a mile was like 2015 money. And they'll run and they'll bend the rules, they'll break the rules, do whatever they have to do. They get caught, they have an accident, whatever. They just go out of business, start another business in another name. So I'm glad this has finally happened. Been talking about this for a long time. I'm glad they're starting to crack down on it.
Couldn't believe it. Going through Arkansas, I thought it was a joke. Got stopped at the weigh station in Arkansas and was handed a piece of paper, and it says, "Can you read and write English?" I said, "Yes, sir, I sure can." He goes, "Can you read this?" So I read it to myself, and I was like, okay, I started handing it back. He goes, no, read it out loud for me. So I read it out loud for him, and, it was short and sweet, no problem. He goes, "Now, can you write this for me on this paper?" And I did, and there was a whole bunch of people that had already written on it. And I was actually witnessing people in handcuffs that had been pulled in, and I was like, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, we've come across now that if you cannot read or write in English, that it's a $5,000 fine, and if you have a company in Arkansas that employs people that can't read or write in English, is a $10,000 fine paid on the spot. If you cannot pay it, you're automatically arrested and lose your license." What a shocker.
Preparing for one of President Donald Trump's executive orders. The Department of Transportation now requires truck drivers to speak and read English proficiently.
KC24's Brianna Bias live at a truck stop after speaking with truckers about how this will impact the industry as a whole. Brianna.
Well, Eric, Emily, Trump signed that executive order back in April, but the Department of Transportation didn't release their enforcement guidelines until today. From now on, truckers will have to prove they know English before they can hit the road. The trucking industry is shifting gears. An executive order by President Trump now requires truck drivers to read and speak English.
We do into a lot of people who don't speak English, who can't even read it.
One anonymous local trucker says he honestly thinks it's a good idea.
Speaking English, it's crucial out here, not just speaking it, but being able to understand it, because we're driving across the country, places you're not familiar with. And so you need to be able to read road signs, understand what's going on out there on the road.
He says illiteracy is a common roadblock for drivers and a safety risk for those around them. But how are people even getting their CDL licenses without knowing English in the first place?
My CDL school that I went to, we had people who did not speak English, and the instructors gave them a piece of paper with phrases and keywords to say during their tests.
Community advocate Gurdeep Shergill estimates 70% of local truck drivers speak Punjabi, and he's already getting panicked phone calls.
There is a little concern, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who are trying to handle it.
He says some have managed to get by for decades without knowing English, but he sees the executive order as a good opportunity for them to learn.
I would say majority of the people, they will be taking classes. There are people taking online classes. They even have, some people even got tutors.
He says the legislation will impact a lot of people, and while some careers may come to a dead end, he hopes most will take on the challenge and learn English. Now, I actually spoke to a lot of truckers today off camera, and every single one of them thought that this was a good idea, even those for whom English was a second language. I also reached out to the California Truckers Association, and they sent me a statement saying that they will work to make sure enforcement is objective and consistent with federal regulations. Live in Fresno, I'm Brianna Bias, KC24, local news that matters.
New rules requiring that if you want to drive an 18-wheeler on our roads with a commercial license, you're going to have to learn how to speak English and understand and read English so that you can be trusted to know all of the regulations and safety precautions required to drive these 18-wheelers.
Well, all the road signs, but also if you get in a car crash or if you're pulled over by law enforcement, you have to be able to communicate, what you have on your truck, on your rig. Listen, this is not a new rule. By the way, the English only requirement or English proficiency requirement has been on the books for a long time. It's just that Barack Obama made sure that if you violated that rule, it was a slap on the wrist. We're going back to the old rule of we're going to put your rig out of service and make sure that you don't drive if you can't speak the language, which, again, this is just common sense. This is our language, English. If you're going to get on the road with one of these potentially dangerous vehicles, speak our language.
And Good morning, all my Rudies. So it is officially a week since the FMCSA ruling just got put into place that truck drivers within the United States have to be able to clearly understand and communicate the English language to law enforcement personnel. Now, in that week's time, I got to tell you that officially 40 Mexican truck drivers have been put out of service for not being able to effectively communicate the English language with law enforcement personnel. Now, these truck drivers, of course, have officially lost their permission to drive on our U.S. highways due to not being able to communicate effectively with the English language. But each of the truck drivers could face additional fines on top of them possibly losing their CDL licenses as well. Now, this all stemmed back from an executive order that was put into place back in April from President Donald Trump. Now, Vice President of the Northwest chapter of the Chamber of Freight, whose name is Israel Delgado Vallejo, said that most of the truck drivers that were caught were driving through Mississippi, Arkansas, and Texas, and that he was kind of shocked that there wasn't any from California. Now, as I mentioned, most of the drivers face losing their CDL licenses permanently, and they could also face fines, depending on the state, between $10,000 to $50,000 per driver. Now, Vallejo estimates that every single day on a daily basis that there's approximately 80,000 Mexican truck drivers across our border every day. He said out of those 80,000 truck drivers, he estimates that only 30% of them would probably be able to efficiently pass the English language barriers that are now put in place, and suspects that over 70% of them would not be able to pass. Now, Vallejo said that there has been an increase in trucking companies now offering English classes to help their truck drivers pass the English proficiency language testing. All right, on my roadies, what do you guys think about that number? Do you think 40 is pretty accurate and that's what you would expect in the first week? Do you think that number is low? And do you think that this number is going to increase and we're going to see bigger crackdowns in the future? All right, let me know in the comment section. And most importantly, please be safe out there on those roads. Good morning, I'm ready. So it's been about a month now that the English proficiency language has been in effect for truck drivers here in the United States. And the U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has given an update on how the first month has gone since this has been in place here in the United States. And he says that about 1,500 truck drivers have been taken out of service due to the new English mandate laws. So on July 30th, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who is the head of the U.S. DOT, wound up giving an update on his social media account stating that over 1,500 drivers have been put out of service. And he wound up going on to say, quote, "Since I took action to enforce language proficiency requirements for truckers, our state partners have put roughly 1,500 unqualified drivers out of service. That's what I call results," Duffy said. "If you can't read or speak our national language, English, we won't let your truck endanger the driving public." Now, the new requirements, if you remember, wound up taking place officially on June 25th, and now it's been in effect for a little bit over a month. And since then, it went into effect. Truck drivers now are required to prove that they can not only understand, but also speak the English language. This is during traffic stops, during inspections, or even when they're going through a weigh station. So what do you guys think? Is 1,500 a pretty good number? Are you glad to see that we're finally seeing some results? I'm just kind of curious on your thoughts and opinions. I know the last time I posted this, a lot of people are saying, well, that's great, but there's a lot of other issues like broker transparency that needs to be addressed. And I totally agree with you. But I do think that this is a step in the right direction. But I hope that this step in the right direction also starts to deal with the freight rates and broker transparency as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section. In the meantime, please be safe out there on those roads.
Okay, y'all. So, but they're still out there trying, from what I understand, they're still out there trying to get away with driving and hoping they're not going to get caught. But that's really not a wise thing to do now that the English and being proficient in English to be a trucker is now in full effect. So if they get out there now, they are breaking a law. Now, it's good to see you, Miss Skilled Gamer. I have been praying for you and your mother and many others as well. It's good to see you. So anyway, Donald Trump wants English to be the official language in the US. And now with all this stuff going on with immigration, at first I thought, that might not happen. But you know what? It's a great possibility it will happen because of everything going on in the country. And I think Donald Trump, like I said before, I don't think he cares for all this Spanish and being spoken, Spanish signs all over the place. And even when you're using the phone, there's prompts for speaking Spanish. And I really, truly believe Him and the people on the right want to do away with all of that. They don't want anything but English spoken in America. And I would not be surprised if they're already working behind the scenes to achieve that and get that all into effect. So that's pretty much it, y'all. It will be interesting to see if it's more they have to put out of business. They literally put these companies out of business because out of the 1,500, not one living soul could speak any decent English in the ones that have been put out of service. So that says a lot right there. That tells me that there were a lot of people in the trucking industry that knew no English at all. And they've been traveling up and down these highways probably for many years. Mhm. Yeah, well, the truckers definitely got to be careful going to sundown towns. It's rough out here, for real. Yeah, well, Shebrew Copper, a couple of people sued and actually won, with them requiring Spanish for jobs. You couldn't get a job because it required Spanish. And a couple of people have sued behind that and actually won. So, I mean, it's always an option to look at, especially if you get refused to do a job. You have the experience, but you don't speak Spanish. They really should still not be turning you down. Mhm. Yeah, well, Florida is almost like a whole different country. I was watching years ago, I was watching a video and this lady pulled up to a service station and they'll ask you how much gas you want in Spanish. So, I mean, that's ridiculous. That you should not be required to speak Spanish to get gas. That's crazy to me. Mm. Yeah, there are a lot of doctors and nurses that are immigrants. Yes, that is very true. Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, Florida's like Cuba, and so California's like Mexico. Yeah. All right, so I want to let's see. Radical Resistance, thank you so much for the super chat, B1. Thank you. Thank you for your support for my channel. And again, thank you, John L., for your super chat. So, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you for being here and be on the lookout for my videos and live streams for tomorrow. Shalom, family.